Thank you very much for joining me. How you been? Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Back. Steve Renazizi. I'm the guy. I'm the guy. Fucking lit. I'm the guy. Steve Renazizi. Lit. I'm the guy. I'm the guy. Fucking lit. I'm the guy. Steve Renazizi. What's the odds? What's the odds? What's the odds? What's the odds? What's the odds?
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to What's the Odds with Steve Renazizi. I am joined by my boy Brenton Biddlecombe, soon to probably be joined by Lucas. He's running a little late, but you know how that works. Things are a little crazy in Los Angeles right now, and shit gets wild at any moment. So, for those of you who live in the Los Angeles area, we hope you're well. We hope you're safe. We hope your family's safe. It's terrible. I mean, we were supposed to do a podcast last week, but then, we talked and then you guys got evacuated, or no, you didn't get evacuated, but you might have gotten evacuated. Half of All Things Comedy, I think. How did they fare? How did the people, I mean, I know Oscar, our friend
Yeah,
Oscar lost his house.
Oscar lost his house. A couple of employees had to be evacuated from their homes, and the studio lost power, but fortunately was not affected.
I mean, everything had to lose power in LA at some point because you just have to shut down the grid in certain areas
Yeah,
to be able to put these things out, I assume. I mean, I don't know shit from anything, but and that, like it's like I don't know what experts who's an expert in what. This just seems like the worst possible scenario for what happened. The winds were as strong as they possibly could be. It was dry. You guys have had rain in a couple months, so super dry. I mean, this is supposed to be the rainy time. I mean, this is the time of year you're supposed to get we're supposed to be thinking about mudslides and stuff. So
yeah.
it's kind of weird the way it worked out. And I lived in Altadena when I lived in Los Angeles, my last 5 years there. Brenton won $1 million at my house. This is a house that a lot of people came to and a lot of people hung out at. And I mean, my heart goes out to the people of Altadena. Thank goodness we don't live there anymore, but the people we sold it to, we kept in touch with them, and they are okay. They're out. The house is okay. The family's okay. They lost. I don't know if you remember the tree house in the back. I think they lost a little bit of the tree house, part of the garage.
Mhm.
Thank God that pergola. I don't know if you remember, we were off the back. We had that wooden pergola. I was
Yeah,
afraid. I'm like, if that thing catches, it's attached to the house, and it's like there's a gas line that goes through there. I'm sure the gas was off, but again, the house across the street from me that was in their family for probably, they were married for 50 years, 45 when we moved, so it got to be over 50 years now. That house was in the family for like 75 years. It has been in every commercial. Here's where people are going to understand about what is LA. What the Palisades is. I never lived in the Palisades. I knew a lot of people that did. I drove past it. I would do. I had agents and managers. A lot of business people in the entertainment industry live in the Palisades. But these are communities that, like the community I lived in Altadena, every commercial is shot in my neighborhood. Because my neighborhood, you got a craftsman house next to a Spanish style house. It's sort of when you crop out the mountain and crop out the palm trees, and you're in everywhere America. You're in the middle of America. You're staring at a craftsman house in Colorado, in Iowa, wherever it is. Doesn't matter. So the house across the street from me was used for every commercial you could possibly imagine. The Beverly Hills 90210 house was around the corner from us. Thank God that survived. Dylan McKay's house from the show. The Hacks house down the block, that burned down. The big pink house that they shot the show in. I mean, it's a tremendous pink mansion. My son played on the All-Star team there when we lived there. I think we would talk about on the show. Three-quarters of the team's houses, the family's house is burned down. So it's unimaginable. I watch 60 Minutes. I watch the news. I can't believe my own eyes. I really can't believe what I'm seeing because it's so real to me because 2-3 times a year I go back now and drive around. I play golf at the courses attached to the Rose Bowl, which are now like triage centers and relief areas. the bank I went to burned to the ground. The Altadena hardware store. It's crazy. The Little League field, the whole thing, it's gone. Um, and living here, I feel like hopeless. I feel like helpless. It's like I don't know what to do. I'm like, what do I do? So many people. Like, how many? I'm so sorry. I can't. There are no words. There are no words. I don't know what to say. I don't. I know what not to say. I love all the memes to tell you what not to say. That's my favorite shit that comes out of this. You're grieving wrong. It's like, dude, I don't know what to say. I know I'm not supposed to mention insurance. I know I'm not supposed to say like you're going to be fine. Of course you're not going to. This is going to take years to rebuild. Like this is a war zone. Altadena is our fucking Ukraine right now. It looks exactly the goddamn same. It's burnt to the ground, and whatever isn't burnt to the ground looks like it should be burnt to the ground. Even if your house made it, say I still lived in my house, how long before I can go back and live in that house? Do you think they have water? You think they have gas lines? You think they have electricity? How long before all that shit gets pulled back into it?
Not to mention the air's poisonous.
Yeah. And you think the inside of my house is just fine because outside of it was a guy. I put it in the middle of a bonfire. Of course, it's going to be damaged. This is like even if you didn't lose your structure, it's going to be a very, very long time. So I don't know. Like for the first 2 days, I just sat there like I felt like I got hit by a car because I was like, what I know the sadness and the grief of all these people. Like Altadena is where the first black millionaires moved into. Like if you were in the entertainment business and you made a ton of money and you were black, like you didn't necessarily always move to Beverly Hills or Brentwood or like later on OJ did, but Altadena paved the way. So there's a lot of families up there that have had these houses for generations. Now they're not necessarily still millionaires, but their family bought a beautiful house and passed it down to generation, and that's just all gone. And then, I don't even know about the insurance. I don't know. I've seen conspiracy theories. I've seen it all. I've seen every, at this point, with the amount of information we're given every day, I don't know what to fucking believe. But what I do know is like, it's not a coincidence that 75,000 fire insurance policies got canceled a couple months ago. It's just not. It's just not. So people know, people anticipate, certain people do, and no one is ever prepared for what they need to be when whoever canceled those policies knew for why they were canceling them. And maybe, hey, we're going to cancel your policy and you should look to do something about what's going on in your area because, it would be like if your insurance called you up and was like, hey, by the way, we monitor you every month and we're canceling your health insurance and your life insurance. And you're like, why? I'm fine. You're like, yeah, but you're fine. You're good. We're just canceling it. And then 3 months later, you get, cancer, AIDS, lupus, and die. And you're like, what the fuck? You knew. They knew something. These companies are not in the habit of just, hey, we would like to stop taking your money for no fucking reason whatsoever. So anyway, again, I don't want to get in trouble. I don't want to get anyone upset. I love everyone. That being said, I have a GoFundMe going right now for the Altadena baseball community. So half that team, they have so many people. I'm like, if I keep reposting all these GoFundMes, it's like it's overwhelming. So let me throw one together for myself. Everyone that I know around can throw some money into that, and then I'll just give it to them, and they can give it out. They know what to do. They know who needs what. So if you go on my Instagram, the link is there. It's the GoFundMe. It's in my stories. Please, if you have anything, whatever it is, dude, you know how it is. This is what I do now for posters after shows. It's pay what you want, dude. If you do that, I'm telling you right now, people are good, dude. People are good. The guy that gives $1, there are always guys that give $1 or people that give $1. It's like, hey, but then they go, this is what I got. And you go, all right, that's what you got. I don't care. That's what you got. Some people give 20s. Some people give 50s or 100s for whatever reason. Some guys like to show off in front of their girlfriend, give 100. This is the time to show off. You want to be a big shot? You want to give a lot of money to something? These are the people that need it. They need it. And, it's terrible. I don't know I don't know if you want to talk about your experience. I texted you because I know you're in Burbank, but Burbank, by the way, from my house to your house, it was 15 minutes on the 134. So
Mhm.
the way these storms were, you would see on television, it looked like it covered 15 minutes in 2 seconds. So I
Yeah.
was worried about you. I'm worried about Lucas. I hear the Comedy Store's fucking shut down. It
Yeah,
was crazy.
they actually the Comedy Store sent out an email if you were displaced, we're going to be a shelter in place for comics and people in the comedy community. And then 8 hours later, they had to send another email saying, "Hey, never mind, because we're about to be evacuated, and so we can't have anybody
Uh,
here." Because the fire in Hollywood, it burned. If anyone's ever hiked Runyon Canyon, it basically was there. The photos of the Hollywood sign were fake. That was AI that got spread around. So that never happened, but the
that's
hills
the other
there.
thing, dude. The AI is
Yeah.
like, I don't know what is real. I don't know. Was the Gutenberg thing real? That was really Steve Gutenberg, right?
Yes. Yeah, that wasn't AI.
Okay.
That was
I
him.
only heard the audio. I never saw the
Oh
video. So
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
like,
there is
was that really
video.
Steve Gutenberg?
Yeah,
Okay.
he was on was it ABC, and the anchor had no idea who he was just interviewing him like he was just a regular guy getting out of his neighborhood. So it was actually that was kind of
Yeah.
funny.
Yeah, they didn't know it was Steve Gutenberg.
But yeah, I mean, Burbank, we were okay for the most part. We could see the fires, see three of the fires from our roof, and we were just kind of on standby, ready to go. But to the people that are like, it was totally mismanaged and this and that, I'm sure mistakes were made. Mistakes are made in every disaster. But the fact that the winds here were stronger than I've lived here 15 years, they were stronger than I've ever seen them. There were gusts up to 100 miles an hour. You can't fly a plane or fly a helicopter into that. They even before the fire started, they were diverting flights out of Burbank Airport. Like you couldn't fly into the airport because the wind was too strong. It's not safe. So you can't drop water. And then if you're saying, oh, well, they ran out of water, they didn't run out of water. They just didn't have enough equipment to move the amount of water that they needed to move to put out the fires that were spreading way too fast because of the wind. So it was just a perfect, you know, everything lined up perfectly to just completely decimate the area, and it was awful. So
Yeah.
we were packed up, and we were just kind of waiting for them to tell us, hey, you got to go now.
I mean, I've spoken to a couple firemen that I know, that locally here and stuff, and because they're interested in just sort of seeing what it looks like, because thank goodness, knock on wood, we have fires going on right now in the city, but they're usually apartment buildings that go, and the winds have been relatively strong here, obviously not 20, 30 miles an hour here and there, and those winds pick it up, and they make the fires hard to put out. So my one buddy was like, look, dude, he's a city fireman. He's like, when you have 50-mile-an-hour winds, even 40 sometimes, all we are is paid spectators at that point.
yeah.
We have the equipment, but you can't piss into the wind. So that's what it is. You can't. And this fire was going. Usually, fire goes uphill. They were saying this one was coming down the hill.
Yep.
It was almost like a ski slope, an avalanche of fucking flames whipping down the hill.
And the embers were being carried for miles and miles and spreading. They were saying that they were
It looked
finding
on it.
embers. They were finding
It,
embers on the beach that were the size of watermelon.
yeah. It looked on television, dude. Like that's what I was saying. AI, you don't know what to believe. It looked unreal. It looked movie-esque. It
Yeah.
looked unimaginable. If I didn't know, like if it didn't have direct coordinates of places I have like literally in my memory, being at, doing things, conducting business, hanging out, it would be not real to me. That's how it looks, and that's what, like, you feel so helpless. Like I was saying before, I'm like, my first, like, let's go over there. Like I got this weekend off. I'm not doing stand up. Like, I'll go out there. But then, like, where are you gonna stay? You take a hotel room from someone that probably needs it. Like,
Yeah.
I would have slept at the Comedy Store maybe if they were letting people in the back. But I don't know, dude. It feels like it. I don't know. And I hope LA has the sort of, what's the word I want to use here? Not guts, but to kind of rebuild.
I
I
think
don't know what
the
it's.
cities come together. You try to donate stuff, and every place is saying we have too much stuff now. Just,
Yeah, no,
hold
I
off.
I get that. That's not. I don't. I'm not. I'm less concerned. I don't know.
Well, you know what my
I
concern
lived there for
is?
20 years. I'm less concerned about the immediate effort to help the
Yeah,
people
you're
in
talking
need.
about the long-term
I'm
rebuild for
talking about,
people.
like, yeah, rich people that are like, you know what? I'm not going to rebuild. I'm going to get that check and I'm out of here. And then, it just becomes hedge funds and foreign people that buy all this land and put up. And it's like it becomes less of what the Palisades, even for what it was, a community. It becomes less of a community. And
Well,
so
that's what's
that's my
happening in
concern.
Lahaina, in Maui.
Yeah.
A lot of the locals who had been there for
Displaced.
generations got displaced, couldn't afford to rebuild, or just didn't want to, and now it's
Well, that's,
becoming
yeah.
very corporate. Um,
I
but
worry about that for LA.
I'm
And much
wondering,
less than I would for New York or any other place. LA is a lot of transplants, a lot of people that came from and have uh not ties, whether good or bad, to other places. Some people are like, fuck it, I can't go back to where I came from ever. I'm here for life.
yeah,
But some people are like, might be like, you know what? It might be time to go to Arizona or Florida or Texas or wherever the fuck they came from. So I'm a little concerned about that long term wise. We'll see. We will see,
I'm curious what's going to happen with the Olympics. Because if they have to build all these structures and do all these things, and the city wasn't ready before the fires, and it looked like it was going to be a scramble to get it done by 2028, how are they going to do it now if resources
Yeah.
and workforce is being pulled to rebuild entire neighborhoods? So I'm wondering if at some point we're going to hear, hey, LA is now going to host in 2032 or 2036 or whatever, or if they're just going to push forward and that's really going to kind of screw over everybody who lives here.
It's gonna be. I mean, yes, I mean, that's what, 3 years away now.
Yeah.
There will be hurdles. I'm sure they're going to try to do the Rose Bowl next year at the Rose Bowl. It'll be a big special event, but you will see almost a year to the day, what it looks like. And I don't know, like, that beautiful drone shot you get when it's beautiful Rose Bowl day of like the
Yeah.
hills and the mountains, like that is that is gone. That is gone, dude. Like, up to the right where I lived is gone. So, like, are they going to show that? What is it going to look like? You know, how much change is there going to be? And you will have like moments like that where you're like, shit, we have this. This is in a year we've only come this far. Like, what are we going to do about the Olympics? Yeah,
Hmm.
it's going to be a big deal. It's going to be a real big deal. And obviously you got to hope that something like this doesn't happen again over the course of the next couple of years. I mean,
Very well
this is
could.
not like a thing where you can. I mean, I don't know. You see, like, I saw this. I don't know. You talk to so many people and your phone's listening. I'm getting Instagram videos of villages in some Asian country that are like susceptible to fires. They have huts on the side of mountains, but they have like this little thing that just shoots out of a bamboo thing, and it's like a hose that comes up and just starts spraying all the houses and they, like, when it senses fire, they just pop up out of the ground and start hosing everything down. Like, I don't know if that's like, well, that would have been nothing. Like, that would have not have done nothing, but
Wouldn't have done it.
something.
It doesn't matter.
Who
At a certain
knows?
point, with the wind as strong as it was and the fires, it wouldn't matter how much water you're dumping on it. Just everything's made out of wood and it's spreading too quickly. You're just not going to stop it.
I know, but Brenton, like, as a person that used to live there, like, if I was still living there and my house got burned down to the ground and you were telling me like, well, there's nothing we can kind of do to stop, I'm like, I'm out, dude. I'm going back to New
Yeah.
York. I'm leaving.
Well, I'm sure a lot of people
I'm
are
not
just
going to
going to leave.
rebuild in a place and I don't like I do, New Orleans. People tried, but I don't know if New Orleans is 100% back to where what it was pre. I don't know. There are places like you said, Lahaina. Like it may not be what it was. It may be a version of it, but it may not go back to what it was. And I'm worried about that for these communities in California. And the Olympics, it's like I, you have I don't know what the TV is. People are calling for the mayor's head and the fucking governor's head in out here in New York. It's
Yeah.
like the topic of all the shows. And we have no fucking real skin in the game, you know? It's not our mayor, it's not our governor. But our mayor's under fucking indictment. The first mayor in the history of America. He's got to go to court on corruption charges while he's the sitting mayor in May. And they're calling for her to be fired because it's crazy, dude. So again, I don't know. There's a lot to go. It doesn't feel, it feels overwhelming from here. I don't know how it feels from your perspective.
Um, I'm just kind of frustrated with the national narrative of people that don't understand LA and don't understand California and just all the misinformation that gets spread. Like, yeah, mistakes were made. Is Newsom or Karen Bass the best leaders? Probably not. They fucked up in a lot of areas, but just like people that don't understand, again, the wind, it doesn't matter what you do in that situation. You could go and you could be pumping water out of the ocean that's right there. One, you don't have the infrastructure to do that, but two, because of the wind, you can't use planes and helicopters when the fire was its strongest to put this stuff out. You have people talking about Newsom trying to save a fish and not moving water. That wasn't true. There's a lot of misinformation being spread. You have oh well, you got to do controlled burns. You got to burn these forests. There's no forests where we are. That's Northern California. People are still saying you gotta burn these forests. That's why these fires spread. We're in a fucking desert, man. Like if we don't get rain, it's gonna burn. So I don't know what the solution is, but I don't like that not everybody here is a liberal. We all have different political views. It's a big melting pot, but for whatever reason, Los Angeles and the state of California have just been labeled like this is super liberal and everything that goes wrong is a liberal problem, and it really isn't. It's a case to case basis, just like anywhere else. Um, so I hate the misinformation. It's frustrating. Most of the people that live here do not have a lot of money. They're just normal people that have regular jobs. So when they lost their houses, it's not like they have two more mansions to go back to. They fucking lost everything. So
Well, yeah. I mean, I look. I don't know if how you can you are you happy with the response from the government from your like the
no,
I
not
mean
really. I mean, Biden's going to give everybody $770 and we just sent 30 billion to Israel. Like it doesn't make sense. It seems like people in North Carolina, they still are recovering from their natural disaster. And I mean, does Flint even have drinking water yet? Like, I'm not happy with how the federal government's handled anything.
yeah.
Um,
Um, it doesn't seem right now that they are like there's no accountability.
yesterday
That's where
they
the
banned
accountability.
Congress banned trans athletes from female high school sports or whatever. I think all children's sports, like they banned trans athletes, and that was their big priority while this shit's going on. Instead of that's less than 1%. I get that a lot. That's a heated subject for a lot of people. Maybe that's not priority right now. Inflation's crazy, everything's super expensive, and out here it's a war zone, and you're focusing on that. Like it's fucking ridiculous.
It's a priority for me because I gamble strictly on transgenders in sports. So that's all I gamble
Well,
on from
I
now
got
on.
some bad news for you.
I know, I heard now. No more
Mhm.
gambling for me in the transgenders in sports. What are you gonna do? Look, dude, I feel terrible for the human beings. how it's all going to get autopsied, it's going to be terrible, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people that could have done something differently or better or something else, or somewhere down the road it could have been fixed. But for right now, it's going to take a monumental effort from a ton of people, and I'm hoping that everyone is ready for what it's gonna entail. That's what it's going to be, a long, long process. So we'll see. I don't. I want to see it with my eyes. I kind of. It's weird that way. Anyway, all right. Let's go to football because that's what the most important thing in the world is. Obviously, everyone knows that.
Yes.
They moved the games from Los Angeles to State Farm Field in Phoenix because the game must go on. The show must go on. You know, it doesn't. Yeah. So what if your house burned down? We've got to go game plan against the Vikings.
Did you think it was weird that that entire game they were cutting to players and they were cutting to celebrities just talking about the fires and sending their love and thoughts and prayers to the people affected? Like it was a whole big, it felt like a live aid within the football game kind of thing. But then the Chargers game, there was like one mention for 5 seconds at the beginning and then nothing.
Yeah, I think the Chargers game, it was almost like, well, this game was supposed to be here anyway, so don't worry about it. We're just gonna glaze over the fact that the whole West Coast is burning to the ground.
But those players and
But
their families went through the same shit. It's just,
yeah,
it's
but we didn't
weird to
have to
me.
move. Everyone know, like it's we all know why we're not supposed to be in Arizona, so now we had to fly all these celebrities out here and talk to all these celebrities. So we've got to give them a reason to come out here to Phoenix. So we're not just going to let them sit in the stands. We got to talk
Yeah,
to them. These
but
people want to talk.
I guess what I'm getting at is like if you're a Chargers fan, it's just my God,
Yeah. You're a
you're a
second class
road team at
citizen.
home anyway,
Yeah.
and you go through the same thing the Rams are going through, and other than, you weren't supposed to play at home, but you're going through the same stuff in your communities and you have family and friends. Everybody knows somebody that was affected by this, and you still have to play with a huge distraction, and there's just like no reference to it whatsoever. It was
Well,
weird. It's like the Chargers aren't even part of LA.
they also played terribly. So,
Well, they did, yeah. But that could have been
and
because they were distracted.
I mean, maybe, yeah. Justin Herbert played. It was a horrible game. Justin Herbert was like,
Well, they need a weapon for him. He's got nobody to throw to. You could say Lad McConkey, but come on.
yeah, no, Lad McConkey, but some of the throw to Lad, the pick to Lad was right over his head. I mean, there were a lot of throws that just did not look. He did not look.
Well, maybe if he had
Uh,
a receiver that wasn't 5'10".
yeah. Again, I'm not saying that he's got weapons to throw to left and right, and that he should have been dealing it up, but this is what you have. You have a strong defense that didn't play so strong that game, but you have to go win the game if you're Justin Herbert,
Yeah.
and he didn't do himself any favors. Um, and I wasn't surprised that it is like you said, it is distracting. It was the shortest amount of time. It was the first game on Saturday, so it was very fresh to everything, and so they looked like they weren't. It was strange. They didn't look like a Jim Harbaugh team that was prepared. They looked they didn't have adjustments, and they underachieved. It didn't look great as an overall product if you were John Harbaugh. But they weren't supposed to be there anyway, I think. That's what people said. They were picked, I think, last in the division, or maybe Vegas.
I think Vegas was picked last, but they were definitely in a rebuild.
Yeah.
Them and
So,
Denver. It's impressive that they were both able to
yeah,
get in and they're both in rebuilds, like the early
they did
stages of a rebuild.
they did overachieve in most people's expectations. So again, I think Jim Harbaugh will learn. They'll figure out. They'll go try to get T. Higgins or someone like that in the offseason and try to get
Hmm.
him a weapon, and they'll be back next year. But if you're Houston, I mean, Houston's defense looked very, very good, and Houston did, and C.J. Stroud did the thing that I thought Herbert would do in the fact that he won the game.
Hmm.
he made plays with it, whether his arm or his feet. He ran the ball. Like he went out and goes, I'm going to go win this game. And he didn't have Nico Collins, his best wide receiver, although he
No,
did have
he
what's
had
his name?
Nico. He had Nico. He didn't
Oh, wait,
have
who did
Tank.
he not?
He
Tank
lost
Dell.
Tank Dell, and then Stephon
Yeah.
Diggs has been out for the season, basically.
Yes.
But
But
Nico's a beast.
it's he basically put the team on his back and goes, I'm going to go win this game. Yeah. Um, but I thought he outplayed him, and that was the difference in that game for sure.
Mhm.
Um, I don't for some we'll talk about it later. I don't have any like illusions that Houston's going to go into Kansas City and do something special. I just don't. I think it's a one and done. I think they got that extra step again. Maybe they'll put a little better showing up than they did last year or, in the second round, but I don't see them going like world next week or this weekend.
I
I don't
I
know. That's just me based on what
hope
I saw.
so. But what would it be now? 3 weeks ago, Kansas City looked like they were the best team in football. Everybody got healthy. They brought in a couple of wide receivers, and the defense was playing really well. But even if it's your backups, losing 38-0, and that's the last football that you've played, like that leaves a bad taste in your mouth. So maybe Houston could come in. No one expects them to win. It's one of those things where they got nothing to lose. They're playing with house money. They're
Yeah,
nine
is there a
point
version
underdogs.
of an Andy Reid team that is rusty?
Absolutely.
I mean, it will
Look, at
be
this
three
point,
weeks
at this
since
point,
they've taken live snaps.
there were 3 games this past week where I think the consensus was, well, there's no way the Chargers are losing um, to the Texans. The Texans' offensive line's beat up. Stroud's getting hit every other play, and they're just not playing. Stroud's not playing good. They're just playing bad football. And the Chargers, they're coming in with some moxie, and they got Jim Harbaugh. And that was, a total disaster. I think most people thought the Vikings were going to take out the Rams because the Rams were kind of limping into the playoffs, and that was shocking. I don't think most people had the Commanders moving on with a rookie quarterback and Tampa Bay playing hot and Baker Mayfield playing hot. So I think Houston definitely has a chance to maybe make this a competitive, interesting game. Kansas City probably still wins because that's what they do. And it's either going to be a 30-point blowout or we're going to see Mahomes do something crazy at the very end of the game and just barely squeak it out. I don't think it's going to be it won't be
Yeah,
like a 10-point game. It's going to be either Kansas City rolls the table or it's, a last
they
second
have to win it.
missed field
Yep.
goal or fluke.
Even if it does come down to that second scenario, and it's, oh, look at this, C.J. Stroud versus Patrick Mahomes. This is they're going blow for blow, like the way Herbert did with him and Allen did with him. I still think Mahomes wins. You give him the ball towards the end of the game, he's going to win the game.
Yeah,
So, but I
especially
did think,
I think that his weaponry this year is better than it's been since he had Tyreek Hill. Since it was Tyreek Hill at his peak and
yeah.
Kelsey at his peak, right now his weapons are better than the last couple of Super Bowl teams.
I was surprised at how well Houston rolled over the Chargers in the sense that they were the most disrespected team going into the playoffs. I mean, if you asked every analyst, it was like, oh, which team would you want to play the most? And it was Houston.
Oh yeah.
And I think even the Chargers, they were favored by 3 points going into that game on the road. So even Vegas had them, as the favorite. I just think that, it was a combination of them not showing up and Houston being like, look, we're not going to be disrespect like this, but I think it's a one and done. What about the your Bills game? Were you happy
Yeah, I mean, how could I
with
not
what
be
you
happy
saw?
with what I
Yeah.
saw? It's funny, I texted Lucas and Avery Pearson, who's a Bills fan.
Yep.
We were talking before the game, and I I don't feel great about our defense. I think they played really, really well. But I said before the game, and I have it in a text, they're going to give up a 40-yard touchdown pass. And first drive, they gave up a 43-yard, I think it was. Um,
Yeah.
but they figured it out. They settled down, and Denver really didn't do anything for 57 minutes of that game. The defense played great. Josh did exactly what he had to do. The run game for the Bills looks awesome. So I felt really good about that. Now, this week,
Well, yeah, we'll get to this week. Let's go to the chart to the Steelers and the and the Ravens first because I mean I can't believe what and a Mike Tomlin team when you had a 13-yard touchdown drive and all 13 plays. I mean a 13 play touchdown drive, all 13 plays were runs.
Hmm.
They ran the ball straight down the Steelers' throat.
Yeah.
I was like, damn, dude, this team, like they became more scary to me this week. I always had the Bills as a better team than the Ravens, but the Ravens scared me this week because they showed up in a way I was like, oh, like they embarrassed the Steelers.
Yeah.
That's an embarrassing thing when you can run the ball 13 times in a row and score a touchdown. That's
Oh,
embarrassing, dude. That's telling you
they
what we're gonna do and
they
doing it
should
anyway.
have they should have used Justin Fields a bit more. Maybe they should have had a package or
Yeah.
something or a series where they could have brought him in and used his legs a little bit because it got to the point where it's like, okay, the only thing that works is Russell Wilson throwing the ball up to Calvin Austin or to George Pickens, and it not even intermediate. It has to be a 20+ yard throw. And if that doesn't work, which it usually doesn't, then the offense can't do anything. So they really should have
Yep.
just brought in Fields and mixed it up a bit and got the defense on their
They don't have
toes
the
and picked up the tempo. And Tomlin didn't want to do
yeah, they
that.
don't have
So
the talent on offense.
what do you do if you're Pittsburgh, though?
They
Because the fan base wants him fired. He's as stable as a coach has ever been, but he hasn't done anything since his first year. The guy hasn't
One of
had a
my best
losing
friends here is a
record, but
Pittsburgh Steelers fan. We work out all the time and we talk about it. And he's like, you got to think about like the Yankees. Like, like yes, the Yankees are in the playoffs almost every year, and but really, like, are you happy with the last 10, 12, 15 years? Not really. They got one championship 15 years ago.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? Like, so we've been to the playoffs, went to the World Series last year. That's great. Those are great. But now it's time to win. We got to win one. That's what people remember who won it the most. So getting there now, and so as crazy as it is as a Giants fan, I mean, I would beg to get Mike Tomlin to come coach our team in any capacity. But I sort of understand the frustration where, you lose 5 games in a row to end the season. Nothing was really done to change. It was almost like,
Nothing
well, we'll
changed.
just work harder. We'll work harder this week. We'll work harder. It's like, okay, you can work as hard as you want, but if you're doing it wrong, then it's not what good is it?
Exactly. And watching Hard Knocks, like he wasn't
Yeah.
changing anything up. It,
No, it's like
it,
be execute
you're
better,
you're
be
more under the microscope when everyone can see every move that you're making and every speech you're giving, and it's basically, hey, we're fine, guys.
I mean, they averaged in the last 5 games on third down, 8.5. Third and 8.5
Yeah.
was what their average third down conversion. So like what are you doing on first and second down? That you're averaging less than a half a yard on first and second down to give yourself third and 8.5 every fucking time. That's anemic. So yeah, they had this. That was the week that the only way they were going to beat the Ravens is play great defense, which they really didn't. They got their, they bit JJ Watt bit on that run RPO every single time he was
Mhm.
tackling the guy without the ball. You know, and then they made the adjustments in the second half, and the Ravens ran the ball even in the second half. So it's like it was not a great showing, not a great showing. And I understand. I mean, I understand people, Mike Tomlin being like, "Fuck you too." I've done this for 18 years in a row. I consistently put out a win with, I want to see someone else try to get this team to the playoffs. That's a perfectly reasonable, point of view to have. So I'm like, I can't blame him, but I can understand if you wanted to look. But who are they going to get? Who are you
Yeah,
going to get to replace
exactly. Vrabel's off the table. So,
Aaron Glenn? Would be the only person that you might think about,
but
and
that's
you got you're
it's
going to give the
crazy to
keys
me
to an
that
outside guy for
yeah,
it.
Aaron Glenn is a lot of hype and everyone loves him, but the Lions defense isn't that great. I get they've been banged
No,
up, but before they were like really, really hurt, they were still bottom five in pass yards allowed per game. And after Hutchinson went down, they had no pass rush. Like he wasn't scheming. They were winning shootouts. The
Yeah.
Lions have mostly won shootouts all year. So I get why Ben Johnson is highly coveted. He's done an incredible job the last couple of years with Jared Goff, who people just kind of threw out when he went to Detroit and said he's no good. And now he's an MVP candidate. But I don't get the Aaron Glenn and why he's being pushed as a head coach when their defense is middle of the road at best.
Yeah,
So
at
you're
best.
not gonna get better bringing a new guy in. Um, I think they need someone more stable than George Pickens as their wide receiver one, and they they need to figure out, are we going to be a Russell Wilson pocket passer kind of team that relies on the deep ball, or are they going to try to develop Justin Fields, or are they going to try to bring someone else in that can run an offense? Um, I don't know. They seem like they're a great team. They're a hard team to play. They're a hard out, but they also seem so far away from a Super Bowl. Like there's just all these pieces. They have good
Yeah.
pieces, but they don't fit together.
Yeah, I'm like, if they can pull off the perfect game, they can upset the Ravens, but it's going to take a perfect game,
I
and they didn't even
was
come close
I
to
was
that.
hoping for an upset.
Yeah, of course you were. I mean,
This
that's a
was
much,
third time playing them, and they just embarrassed you, and they took the division
yeah,
from you. Go get it back. It would have been nice, but
it was
yeah,
disappointing. And then, the Packers and the Eagles were, it was Jordan Love, Jordan loved.
throwing off his back foot.
Yeah, he does a lot of throwing off his back foot. He really does. A lot of picks, a lot of bad throws, a lot of bad decisions. The defense wasn't as great as it normally is. When you got a wide receiver on the sideline reading a book because you're running the ball so well, it's really not a great indication as to how your season's going to end.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I think that the Eagles look good. The Eagles look good, and with the Vikings being gone now, it's obviously going to be the Lions and the Eagles to see who. I
Most
think the Ram.
likely,
Well,
yeah.
let's get to the weekend. Yeah,
I think the
let's
Rams
get to the
are
weekend.
the Rams won their Super Bowl. They got the moral victory. They beat the Vikings. They were underdogs in that game. Um, I think the Vikings were the Vegas line. They were minus money on the money line, and the Rams were plus money. So going to Philly, the fires are slowly being put out. I don't think they have much of a shot in this game. Stafford played very good, but he has to play basically a perfect game, and he hasn't played a perfect game since Buffalo. So I just don't think they have enough.
Yeah,
And the Eagles have all these weapons, and it seems like they're not even they don't even have their foot down on the gas. They're just kind of going through the motions, and they're still winning by 30. So um, that one, I would
I
say,
mean,
of all of
I will
these
say this.
games, I think that one's the safest as far as taking the Eagles on the money line.
Yes, on the money line for sure. The reason I'm not going to go crazy about giving them the 6 points is that the Rams' defensive line is legit. They can get to the passer.
But so is the Eagles' offensive line.
It's good that again. Now that's what I was going to say. It will be probably one of the harder tests that the Eagles' offensive line has had to face, and vice versa. But I'd like to see. Obviously, the matchup. What was it like in November? They played each other,
Mm-hmm.
and the Eagles ran for like 300 yards or whatever. So, but can the Rams stop like it? That defensive line has gotten better since then, and so can they stop the run, make Jalen Hurts become a passer, and continue to get to the quarterback?
Well,
It's going to be a
one,
tough task.
Jalen Hurts is a better passer than Sam Darnold.
Yep.
Two, Jalen Hurts is a better scrambler than Sam Darnold. And three, Sam Darnold just would not get rid of the football ever for whatever reason. Those
Well,
nine
there was no one
sacks
open, dude.
probably, yeah, but you throw it away. Seven of those nine sacks were probably on Darnold.
Um,
So Hurts isn't going to
he was
play like
he was
that.
in a blender the whole game.
Yeah, I get that. I get that. But at some point, I'm sure O'Connell's screaming at him to throw the ball away. At some point, you got to throw the ball away. And he just, for whatever reason, refused to. Jalen Hurts isn't going to make that mistake. And if shit goes down and it does get kind of like that and he doesn't have time, then yeah, they have more weapons than I think the Rams do. Rams have great weapons. Don't get me wrong, but or the Vikings had a good weapon, Justin Jefferson and Addison and Aaron Jones. But if you match up player for player, Justin Jefferson's probably the better receiver than AJ Brown, but you're not losing a lot there. And AJ has a little bit more size. And then Devontae Smith is much better than Addison. And Saquon Barkley is arguably 1 and 2, the best running back next to Derrick Henry in football. So he's got a little bit more of a weaponry to escape the pass rush. He can use his legs better, and he's going to make better decisions. And he has experience. I think, Darnold, was that his first postseason game? I don't know if he had ever really started a postseason game.
Started a game, yeah. Started his first, yeah.
Whereas Hurts has been to a Super Bowl, so he's not going to feel the pressure as much. It's not weighing on him.
Yeah.
He has his contract. Darnold basically lost a lot of money. He was showcasing himself to every team for next season that needs a QB. Probably could have made, 120, 150 million dollars if he had just played a solid game. That probably was weighing on him too. So you just kind of saw everything unravel. And I don't think the Eagles are going to be that way. I think at home, they're just going to kind of steamroll this Rams team that has also very much overachieved. And, the last game they played, it was a 17-point rout in LA. And Barkley, was that a primetime game? The Rams Eagles, was that Sunday night? And that was where Barkley ran for like 260.
Yes, 278, 268 or something like that.
Yeah. So
he went off.
It's probably going to happen again.
Yep. All right, I don't mind that. I like the Eagles on the money line. What about, let's get to we talked Houston Chiefs. I assume we both like the Chiefs. 8.5 is a tough, what if it is one of those things? It's either going to be really
I think we
or
should just stick to the money line because the playoffs are so unpredictable.
tough.
And you don't want to say anything is scripted and stuff is fixed, but at the same time, it's like crazy shit could happen. And
True. I don't want to, fuck with points that way.
I don't want to.
Let's do the Commanders and the Lions.
The Commanders have had a blessed season. They've had a lot of lucky things bounce their way.
The future is bright.
Tampa Bay had that game won, and Baker handed them the ball on the 9-yard line. Like Mike Evans had just made that crazy stretch play for the first down. They had all this momentum. They were going to drive.
He doesn't
down
fumble
the
that ball, they probably win that game.
Baker Mayfield fumbled the game away. I'm convinced of that. So I'll continue to bet against the Commanders and the Lions at home. Rested. They're getting back. Who was it? The
Montgomery.
Well, they're getting Montgomery back, but a defensive back as well that's been out. He's going to be good to go. So they're getting healthier.
Have there been rumblings yet of Hutchinson practicing?
Not that I've seen, but he's going to come back if they make the Super Bowl. Like he will play.
That's 3 weeks from now.
Yeah, he will be back.
So they'll be rumbling soon.
Yes,
I'm sure.
If they win this week, then I'm sure he's probably going to be seen on the sidelines doing, drills on the side, and it'll slowly just ramp up, and he'll play in the Super Bowl if they make it. But I just look, Washington's pulled off some miracles. I don't think they have one more to beat the Lions, who are a pretty complete team at home with a very good coach who has them highly motivated in front of a city that is starving to see them win. I just don't see it happening. Should be some fireworks, though. That's the highest over-under on the slate. 55.5.
55.5 I got on DraftKings.
But yeah.
Let's get to the game that I'm sure is going to give you nightmares and keep you up for the rest of the weekend.
Well, here's
Buffalo Bills at home against the Baltimore Ravens. I mean, this is probably, I don't know what the rest, usually it's championship week has the best games, but this to me is probably, out of the 7 football games remaining in the world, this is probably the best one, I would say.
Whoever wins this game is winning the Super Bowl. That's what I believe.
Okay.
So obviously, I hope it's the Bills, but I think the Ravens are going to be too much for them. Um, they're just going to run the ball all over us. We don't really have an answer for Derrick Henry. We don't have the size. We don't have the speed to contain him. And if we are able to contain him, we don't have then another layer that can contain Lamar. It's just going to be too much. And maybe the Bills, I
Yeah.
hope they keep it competitive, more competitive than their game in week 5. They're a different team than they were early in the season. They're a better team, I think, but the Ravens are still going to be too much, even if they don't have Zay Flowers. The Ravens defense was bad for a good part of the season, and they have since figured it out. They are shutting teams down, and they brought Derrick Henry in to run the football in January, and that's what he's doing. We saw it last week. Doesn't matter if he only gets, was it a couple weeks ago where he had 8 yards in the first half and then finished the game with like 150, 160 and
Yeah.
a couple
Yeah, I
touchdowns.
know.
So, I
It
mean,
looked like yeah, it looked like he was being contained, and then all of a sudden it just, dude. I mean, like you
the
said, in cold in the as the season goes on in the second half, when everyone's tired, nobody wants to tackle this guy
no.
coming down full
Now,
speed at 260 pounds.
we have Josh Allen. So we're
Yeah.
never, as long as he's out there, we are never out of any football game. That is the hope that I have, is that this can become a shootout and they can go hit for hit and hopefully be on the right side at the end. Um, but that's what it's going to take. I don't see the Bills handling this team to the point. It's not going to be like the Broncos game where it's like, okay, we're going to get a 3-score lead and we're going to sit on it and we're good. That's not going to happen with the Ravens. It's going to be stress to the very end, or the Ravens are going to absolutely
Yep.
blow us out. Because the last time we hosted a AFC North team in the playoffs and it was very cold and possibly snowing was the
Cincy.
Bengals, and we got our asses handed to us. So
Yeah,
I'm
I remember
hoping
that.
that that isn't the case, but I wouldn't be shocked if it is. And my heart will be cheering for the Bills. I love them, but I would not put money against the Ravens in this game.
Wow. That's breaking news to me. I mean, I'm not I'm happy for you. I'm happy. I mean, I was ready to go with you on the Bills because I believe in them, and I'm you know what, it's a 1 point. They're getting
I
one and a half
believe I
now. I got
believe that they could win this game. It's just as a logical better,
yes.
I would not
Yep.
bet on the Bills. I would bet this
Yep.
is what I would do. I would leverage my fandom. I would put money on the Ravens,
Yep.
and if the Ravens lose and I lose the money, I'm the happiest guy on planet Earth. But if the Bills lose, at least I get some money.
Well, that being said, the Chiefs on the money line to win, the Lions on the money line to win, the Eagles on the money line to win, and the Ravens on the money line to win. $50 would net us $183.89. Those are the
You know what's crazy?
logical,
Bet
sensible
DSI,
bets.
the same bets. I'm getting 131 and 12 cents.
Well, I'm gonna do this. Done.
But yeah, look, it is going to be a toss up because
Yeah.
of all the games, that's the one that it's the hardest to read, because what Bills team are we going to get? And maybe the defense does come out and they force some turnovers. Lamar Jackson has never played in weather colder than 28 degrees, and it's going to be about 8 degrees in Buffalo.
I would have
So
loved to have seen had things worked out differently if the Ravens had to go into Kansas City, who would be the favorite in that game?
yeah, this
I'm
is
wondering if Vegas is considering. I mean, we might have a chance to see next week, obviously, but knowing not like being it having it be this week with Kansas City coming off of a bye and also sitting people, the Ravens playing the way they're playing. If they were going to
oh,
Kansas City this week, do you
I
think
would
that
have
they
taken
would
the
be the
Ravens.
favorite?
Absolutely. I would have taken the Ravens. I think they would have been the favorites, just like they're the favorites in Buffalo, which
Yeah,
this is the first time in the Bills' history that they're underdogs at home in the playoffs.
yeah.
So Vegas knows it. It's hard not to see it. The Ravens, again, could very well lose this game. Josh Allen could play a perfect game, play out of his
Yeah.
mind, and the defense could do just enough. But the Ravens right now are the best team in football. And if they just come out and play their game, no one's going to beat them. Okay,
Yeah.
take away Derrick Henry, but now you have to contend with Lamar, who's probably going to win the MVP. Take away
Now and
Lamar, Derrick Henry's
yep,
going for 200,
yep.
and the
Now there
defense is
is
shutting you
always a
down.
chance that they could do what they did last year and completely do something very differently than everyone else expects them to do. You know, remember last year, everyone's like, why didn't they
Oh,
run the ball?
please. Please.
But you know, I don't know if that's
But at the
is it
same
Todd
time,
Monken over there
that's all
trying to
Lamar
outthink
has been
himself
that's
or
all Lamar has been thinking about for a year. All he cares about is getting to the Super
yeah,
Bowl. He is going to be much more focused. I don't think he's going
yeah.
to fold like he did
No,
last
you're
year.
right. You're sensible, Brenton, and that's why I like you to this week
And
at least.
and if the Bills lose, my wife has
Uh-oh.
scheduled us to go to Disneyland the following week. So if they lose, I go to Disneyland. If they win, I get to watch the Bills play in the conference championship. And if they lose, I'll be at Disneyland. So
Okay.
it's all
But
upside.
if they
Like
win, you're not going to Disneyland?
if they fuck no.
Okay. Yeah. I was like, I didn't know if this is like a
No, 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 no,
I'll get to
no.
watch them in on the parade float.
No, no.
Disneyland still open and stuff? They're still running people in there and everything like that? No fires down
Come on,
there,
man.
nothing? Okay. Yeah,
Disneyland
I know.
doesn't close.
I know.
It
I
was
know.
it was far enough down in Orange County that it didn't affect anything.
God forbid they give away some hotel rooms. All right. Good
Oh,
talking to you, Lucas. What?
speaking
Oh,
of Disneyland, did you see their new Fast Pass?
no.
So, you know, you lived in LA long enough, and I'm sure you went to Disneyland with the kids enough that when you used to go, the Fast Passes were free. You just went up to the little kiosk, you hit the button, and then you'd get it and it'd tell you what time to come back, right? And then it slowly
Yeah,
over
that's what it
time,
was. That's what
they
I did.
changed it into now you can get this Genie Pass and it's $30 and you have to go in the app and you have to schedule and you can only schedule one ride at a time, but the time slots fill up so crazy. So if you're not fast enough, you could end up paying this extra $30 and only get like
For
one or
nothing.
two rides for the day. Then they created, when they built some of the new rides, they created like a lightning lane, whatever. And that was like you had your Genie Pass for $30, and that got you on all the old school rides that no one really cared about. And then you had to pay another like $45 to get on the premium rides. So they were separate lightning lane passes. Now they have a $400 lightning lane. You can just you buy this thing, this is on top of your ticket and your parking and all that stuff. So now you're talking about like just to get in the door, it's 600, $700, and you can walk
Per
into
person.
any per person. You can walk into any lightning lane line at any time, and you can do one ride per lightning lane per day. So it's basically just like a fuck you to families and catering to people who can just spend whatever amount of money they want to spend.
You should be able to punch fucking Mickey in the nuts for $500
Yeah,
extra.
it's crazy.
They'll give it, yeah, but no hotel rooms for fucking people that need it right now. But Brenton, you'll be in a hotel room possibly next weekend. Who knows? Come on,
Yeah.
let's go Bills, dude. Let's go
I look,
fucking
I'm going to be
Bills.
cheering as hard as anybody, but
I know,
when I play, I separate the fandom
I
from the
get it.
money, and that's why I've been a successful bettor and why I've been a successful fantasy football player is because I take the teams out of it and they are just chess pieces on the board, and I move my chess pieces how I think they should go. And it is hard to bet against the Ravens right now. If the Bills lose to them, I can accept that because I think they're going to win the Super Bowl. Now, if they lose to them 45 to
Well,
nothing and
I
they
like
play
your
like
logic.
shit, then I will not be happy. But
That's going to be
if they
different.
play a good
Yes, that's
game
that's
and they
painful.
lose, it is what it is.
Yep, yep. And we'll
We're
see what
here.
happens next week.
We're here. No one thought we were going to be here. And
You're here. You're
we're
clear,
hosting the game.
and you're hosting the game.
And I got last thought. What
Please.
if the Texans pull the upset and the Bills pull the
Uh-oh.
upset and we get to host a game? How glorious would that be?
That'd be wonderful if you get to host the championship game. I
Against the
mean, you don't
Houston
want to play
Texans.
that would be wonderful because then you might want to book some trips to New Orleans then
Yes.
instead of Disneyland. But let's
Yes.
not fucking count our chickens before
No, no,
they're
no, no, no,
hatched
no.
or before I make omelets.
I'm trying to make peace with
Um,
the fact that this could be a tough weekend.
Again, if you have the means, please donate to the GoFundMe I set up. Fine people of Austin, I'll be there next weekend at the Mothership, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Most of the shows are sold out. I think there's a couple of shows that are not, but get tickets, steverenazizi.com. Yeah, most importantly, try to get some cash into the area of the affected fire. people in Los Angeles because it's fucking horrible. And that's it. That's it. That's the podcast for this week. We're gonna make some money, I think, dude.
I think so.
Maybe we're gonna have fun. We're gonna have a lot of love, or we're gonna make some money, one way or the other.
Yep.
But I have a good feeling about it.
I feel good about this. We bet against the
yeah,
Bills,
dude.
so if we lose the bet, who gives a
We're
shit?
gonna win in life.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for listening. And we'll see you next week.
Go Bills.
Thank you very much for joining me. How you been? Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Steve Renazizi. I'm the guy